Don in London. Hello, it's January the 21st 2013. My video is all about recovery from addiction to either substance or behaviour, and in my case it was alcohol. Addicted to alcohol, could have been anything, probably anything. It could involve people, places and things, but mostly it was trying to fit in and be a part of, and not necessarily always being in the moment of now, either thinking about the future and how it could be, or the past and how it was and where the good times were, and grieving for losses along the way. So that's why I drank, because I did. That's what I did. I was a drinker, and I didn't realise that I was addicted until it was too late, and then I could not stop. So I needed some help, and the help I got was from professional sources to begin with, who then suggested it was a very good idea if I went to a fellowship called Alcoholics Anonymous, and I did in the end, and it works one day at a time. So I share about how the Alcoholics Anonymous fellowship has helped me over the years, and I must say I do not represent any person in the fellowship, and I do not represent the fellowship of AA. Nobody can, because it's unique. We are all unique and authentic, and the fellowship is there for one primary purpose, and that's a desire to stop drinking. So I always share the AA preamble because it puts me in mind of what it's all about, and to share it is a starting point. So if you're new or been around a while, there will be my thoughts following on things which occurred to me today, this morning, in my meditations. So first of all, the AA preamble for a fellowship I do not represent, but to share what it's about. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism, or help others into recovery from alcoholism, depending on your point of view. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. Primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety, and in that we give it away to keep it. So it's about sharing information and exchange of information around experience, strength and hope to be sober so the rest of life can happen. And the reason why it's not allied to anything, including me, I'm not endorsed in any way by the fellowship, nor would I wish to be, because that would defeat the object. One voice amongst many is the way it works. So we get experience, strength and hope and wisdom from many sources if we are going into fellowship on a regular basis, and it's the regular basis which counts, because life is changing every day. The way people share experience, strength and hope changes every day, although there will be people who say the same things over and over again, a bit like me, and the reason why we say them over and over again, because we found something which works, which keeps us sober. So repetition happens, reinforcement happens by sharing experience, strength and hope, and I need that as much as anybody, so I get help and support if I ask for it. But I want to read my daily reflections, things which occur to me, and I did step 6 and 7 yesterday. Step 6, the old life. Step 7, engaging in a new life. That's what it's really all about. So this morning, this is me and my understanding, so please bear with me, and also know, you can say no, this is not true. It doesn't work that way for me, because we all need to share how it works, and if we share how it works, then people will hear a part of the story which is going to work for them. For me this morning, everything is working at full capacity in the moment of now, emotionally and physically. And Boredom is an agitated mind trying to find something to do. Everything is working at 100% in the moment of now. You may not be aware of it. Even when you think you are idle, your feelings are working, your thinking is working, and physically, even at rest, your body is working automatically. So my view is it's 100% all the time. It's then where do we focus? Active and living in the fatal malady, that is my alcoholism, life is crowded. We don't recognise the mood we are in, and our thinking is shaped by our drinking, and physically we are impaired and unable to function and keep in the moment of now because we're agitated, and we're probably looking for the next drink or the next session of oblivion. On every level we are not functioning in the moment of now, except when we put the drink to our mouths, because we are hardly present and able to function at all. If we are not thinking about the next drink or the next fix, our emotion and mood is agitated, and physically the body craves something missing. Still working at 100% of capacity, the mind and the body are continually distracted by the need to fix something which is elusive. Probably that first feeling of being okay. But the more we try, the more we can't find it again. I desperately sought peace of mind and a way to shut off from everything. Usually work and the fix was a diversion into oblivion for as long as possible, one day at a time. Work and stuff always crowded in on me because I was trying to be perfect, I was trying to fit in, I was trying to look at all the different ways it could be better. That was just me trying to be perfect, and a right old so-and-so in giving myself a hard time, and then consequently giving everybody else a hard time. In some way or other, back in the old life, all our faculties, emotions and senses, thinking and projecting into a fantasy, and physically disabled, our bodies don't work overtime, they try to cope with the stresses and the impact our fix has from moment to moment. There is no rest in active addiction, simply oblivion and exhaustion as the fatal malady runs its course. We don't evade or stop the progression and exhaustion caused by drink and fixing. All this energy having to cope with the extra stress, something is not happening naturally anymore. Finding a resting place where energy is utilised to restore the body and the mind. The energy in fixing and the mind and body are not able to cope with reality. We can't cope in the present moment. Something is driving us, and that's the addiction. At any one time, with the body working at 100% and the mind working at 100%, if we are diverted into fixing, there is no growth and there is no energy being used to learn how to cope in the moment of now. And don't forget, every moment of now is changing. If we can focus in recovery on learning, being open, honest and willing to live in the moment of now, our energy is 100% focused on reality. And living in the moment means we don't really have energy for the old life, the lethargy brought on through tiredness and the anger at ourselves and self-harm being done, trying to get out of the old attitudes and behaviour which were working at 100% and into the new attitudes of behaviour which need to work at 100% means something has to give in order to move on to a new life. This is why the 12 steps help profoundly and help us with new living principles which work. Which work in any conditions at any time. As long as we can pause long enough and respond rather than react as we did in the olden days. So don't forget, we've got a lot of emotional baggage hanging around from the old times, and then there's this emptiness. Anyway, I'll go on to that in a bit. Asking ourselves to stop the old attitudes and behaviour which work at 100%. Letting go of these attitudes and behaviour to make room for the new 100% in sobriety is a really difficult adjustment for any human who has ingrained and well-worn ways of living in the old world, or living in the world as it is. Taking away our drug of choice, and in my case alcohol, meant all the old feelings and behaviour came out without being hindered by drink. So I was suppressed by drink, and all this old behaviour was in my head, And this is the stage of being a dry drunk, in my case, where we are all stuck in the old attitudes at 100%, and there is no room created for the new 100%. In other words, if we do not change our attitude and behaviour from the past, if we do not do the 12 steps and understand them, and start learning them on a daily basis, we are likely stuck in hell 100% of the time. And those first few days and weeks were hell. I continue. We cannot move from one way of living into a new way of living without help, support and help to reinforce the change we need and we want to make. Once we have a taste of freedom from the old familiar feelings and slavery to fixing. It does start with step 1, which some call the 100% step, because we can achieve sobriety one day at a time. And then letting go that 100% of the old ways and starting 100% of the new ways is not achieved overnight. So in other words, we have a whole load of baggage going on in our head from the past and from our drinking, which is no longer suppressed by alcohol. So we're mad as a hatter, I would have suggested for me. So it's not achieved overnight. The spiritual experience is living from day to day in the moment and coping with reality and developing a new way of life. Developing this new way of life in fellowship, we have meetings where we can share experience, strength and hope of sobriety, all of it, the good, the bad and the ugly. So there is some bad and ugly stuff to be lived, because that's what life is, good, bad and ugly. When I started in the fellowship, as I started to understand that I needed to let go 100% on the drinking and fixing, there seemed to be an enormous gap inside me, which I could not deal with. In early days my mind wandered to and fro between wanting to be well and wanting to be in the old life again. So whilst I had created a gap for new attitudes and behaviour to form, my mind raced in all directions and clouded not only my judgment, it meant I felt like I was going mad each day as the old life was being resisted by me and the new life just didn't make any sense. It just felt stark, and reality was full of depression and a head full of noise. I realised the emptiness and the gap was being filled with a racing mind, looking for the angles, looking for a way out and desperately wanting to get past the early stages of recovery. Looking back now, I was in a rush to be right, to prove myself worthy of being in fellowship. I was competing against myself and wanting to be perfect as usual. And it doesn't work that way. We need to stop trying to be perfect. Maybe that's another video to do. Yeah, I was looking for the angles, looking for a way out and desperately wanting to get past the early stages of recovery, trying to prove myself. And I read everything I could find about recovery. I was in a rush to be right, to prove myself. And I read everything I could find. I had all the theories in my head, and yet my mind and body I had all the theories in my head, and I read everything I could find about recovery. I had all the theories in my head, and yet my mind and body would find it hard to keep on track and find the pace at which I could learn this new life. The more I was able to give to new ways of living, and putting them into practice was the real way forward. So these 12 steps, understanding them and then putting them into practice was how do I do that? How do I actually start to put these things into practice? That was the real way forward. And progress would only be at the pace at which I could go and let go of the old stuff. And there was no fast track in recovery, each at their own pace, and never a race or competition. So you can't get sober faster just because you want to. You can only go at the pace that your emotional mood, and then your thinking, and then the actions you take. So how is in the action. The actions, new ways of behaving. So not down the pub, down to a meeting is the first action. And the hell that will bring with it. Hell 100% when I first started, because that's what it is. So there was no shiny bright star, there was no blinding godlike thing which was happening, and it was just hard grind because that's where I was. But there was something before, and that was the one thing that saved me, waking up one day and saying, it can't get any worse than this, I really do need some help. And then I rang up a professional and something happened. I stopped trying to do it on my own, but I did try to do it on my own for quite a while afterwards, and that did not work for me, and I'm speaking for me and not for everyone. How am I feeling today? Actually, I feel rather good in the moment of now, and I've been not drinking, I've been thinking at 100%, and everything has been 100%, and my outlook has been quite positive about living in the moment of now. And the funny thing happened just when I was opening up the curtains and the blinds a few minutes ago. I looked out, and what I think was a pretty girl walking past waved at me. Now I think it might be somebody I know, but even so, it was, that I feel grateful. Whatever, I was fully clothed, by the way, which is not always the case, but anyway, people aren't looking, but this person waved at me, so I'm very grateful for that. It's a very nice gesture. Yes, so I am quite positive. That was on top of being positive. Why? It is the things which don't bother me in the old life that don't bother me now. I'm not looking to fix myself with a drink. I'm not looking for the next drink or where it is going to come from. I'm not working in the way I used to, emotionally and physically, and I still work at 100%. How much of the old life is impacting in my attitudes and behaviour today? Well, it would be hard to put a figure on this, how the old life is affecting me. And it would be hard to put a figure on this which would be meaningful. Actually, I didn't think about fixing at all yesterday, but some of the old life probably popped into my head for about 10% of the time, and the other 90% was simply living in the moment of now, without the need to be worried or fearful, or looking over my shoulder about something which might be fearful. Every day the old life will impact in some way or other, because I'm reminded of it from within, how I used to be, and I do that deliberately. That was the old life, this is a new life. Step 6, step 7. It's always at 6s and 7s. Because old feelings can come up in the moment when things are harder to deal with. Yes, every day the old life will impact in some way or other, because I'm reminded from it from within, and also at meetings about how it used to be. And every day life does take on new meaning, because I do see reality as it is, and the possibilities are profoundly better in reality, one day at a time. So where is this leading? Even though we don't know it, the 12 steps as living principles, the principles help me understand that every day is a learning day, that experience, strength and hope comes from living reality and coping with reality. And when I cannot cope, humility is profoundly helpful. I can say, I don't know the answers, and can be content to find out and ask for help. So I don't fear asking for help, and that's important. If I am in the right place with the right people, asking and not demanding, asking and not expecting, asking without entitlement, in other words, simply being a human being without contempt and without prejudice against other people, I do not control what other people do when I ask for help, because it is their choice to be helpful. And at the same time I can share my appreciation and gratitude in the moment when something happens and something helps me, or someone helps me. I also show appreciation and gratitude when people have to say no and they cannot help. People have to say no when they feel they cannot help, and I appreciate that, because there is nothing worse than somebody trying to do good when they haven't a clue except fantastic fantasies about their ability to be helpful. And I can include me in the latter category, because I might speculate on what might be helpful to you. But if I just share my experience, strength and hope, if there's something in there which is helpful, great. If it's just complete nonsense, great. It means I'm not the right person to be helpful. But I don't have a fantasy that I'm right. I'm just sharing what I know so far. for me and may be helpful to anyone, anywhere. If I forget I am one man and one voice amongst many who can help in their own way today and any other day, I need to be careful. Not my way, seek the best way, or as is suggested, thy way. And it would change the song title and contents quite dramatically if it was, I did it thy way. In other words, learning from the good of life, and that there is a bigger picture. I did it thy way. Yeah. Anyway, that's just what occurred to me. I thought it was funny. So I'm not doing it my way these days. All this is from what I've learned over the years. When we start to do something new, we have to let go of something else. When we start something new and need to develop understanding, skills and practice, we really do need to let go of something else. We need enough depth in a new way of living in recovery, and this is only achieved if we let go of the old ways. The same is true of any endeavour when we start something new, like starting a new job or starting a new relationship. If we take our old expectations into a new relationship, the poor person who may be engaging with us has no chance, and we have no chance because we have an expectation of how it ought to be or should be. The relationships don't work that way. They work far better if we are level and equal, and we might find the other person has great expectations because they like us or love us, but making those expectations too great in any way, emotionally or physically, can cause problems. So better to find reality in the moment of now and check each other out by asking and being careful, which is about yes and no, and likes and dislikes, feelings real right now. Yeah. The same is true of any endeavour when we start something new. We have to let go of something to make room to grow into another area of living. Yes, it is true, we all multitask all day long, and at the same time we need to put effort into particular endeavours to be successful and become practised in new attitudes and new behaviours. So, to give an extreme example, I used to work in boardrooms with executive directors and non-executive directors and senior managers and this, that and the other, and I was very capable and able. So I had all the right attitudes and behaviours to do that, but when it came to road sweeping I had the wrong attitude and the wrong behaviour. The attitude was I could do it anyway, but unfortunately I had a broken leg at the time, so I was fired. It's interesting, Blockbusters has just gone into administration, and I was headhunted as a sales assistant from Blockbusters to be doorman and weekend, I suppose, dog's body with responsibility for the premises of an arts club where people used to get completely off their heads, and it was a 40-hour long shift basically, dealing with disruptive, drunken and addled people. And I took it on because I said yes. I was very good at it, but it was the wrong place to be with the wrong people at the wrong time for somebody who was battling with their own demons. But I could adapt, so I could keep on doing the old ways. That's how it happened. In a way, all these things got me to where I am today. I'm still alive is the main one, and I'm still sober, and I still have a sense of humour about things. Yes, it is true, we all multitask all day long, and at the same time we need to learn and we need to put effort into particular endeavours to be successful and to become practised in new attitudes and behaviours. The same applies to family and work. The more we practice the new principles of living, the better we get at them on a daily basis. If we have a frame of mind which is about learning and changing, then we will change, even from ingrained old habits. We need to change and stop fixing life, simply living a new life with humility and with integrity. It doesn't take away your ability to choose what you want. In fact, it just enhances your freedom to choose, because we are learners and we have integrity. So it's not at the expense of other people or our own expense. It's about saying, oh, I've got another challenge coming on. What am I going to let go of so I can do this? And we need to grieve for the old life, because in recovery, we are letting go of what we thought made us tick and made life work. Letting go of that, it's like letting go of a best friend. It's a death in your own family, the one thing you could rely on to sort you out, and it doesn't do it anymore. So there's a grieving process which is full of madness. So to grieve for the old life as the new life starts to form. So simple and yet so complicated for any human, one day at a time. So life is simple in many ways if we have the toolkit. So the 12 steps are enshrined in good living principles, it doesn't matter what your belief system is. One fellowship, many faiths. And when the 12 steps were written by people with a religious understanding and basis for living, nothing wrong with that, that's absolutely right. But we're not all believers in God. Some of us just simply are confused and can't work out what that means. But we work with integrity and to the good, which is a very Buddhist way of doing it. Don't impede the spiritual progress of another person. And if a person asks for help, share the truth of what is for you, not for them. Don't judge them, just point the three fingers. Don't point like that. 3 fingers coming back. We share our experience, strength and hope, not to shape or form another person and make them so, but to give them information which they can then utilise. And that's how it works for me. Lots of people, lots of different backgrounds, all in fellowship. All the different religious beliefs, all the different colours, cosmopolitan and diverse, just the way I love it. I love it like that, because no one's better or worse than anybody else at recovery. We just have to live in the moment and see how it goes. Sometimes it goes well, sometimes it goes badly, but we cope, and if we can't cope, we ask for help. And help doesn't come straight away, well, not very often anyway. And being patient with institutions is really important. Being patient when you're at your wit's end and don't have anywhere to live. Don't go and demand anything, just ask for help. Please, can you just direct me where it will not happen as you want it, but something will happen. Thy will, or to the greater good, if we can fit in again, rather than say, bugger you and I'm off. We have to persevere and be a part of, and let people help if they can, and let organisations help if they can. Don't demand it. There is no entitlement in life. People work together and life works if we are working, and we are at 100%. Just need to focus on what we need to do. So early recovery took all my focus, all my energy, to move into looking at the world in a different way, and it was a better view in the end. So that's enough of me today. And the serenity prayer which I share, it's the can do, can't do. Any moment of day you can use the serenity prayer, the simplified version. I can do this, I can't do that, and I keep on learning the difference. There's a long version of the serenity prayer, just so you know, and then there's the version used within the fellowship, which is to God or in good conscience or a higher power of your understanding, as you understand it, not following anybody else, as you understand it. God, grant me the serenity, a way back to peacefulness, if you like. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, from an old life to a new life, every single day, new life, and the wisdom to know the difference. It could be in the moment, in the minute, by the hour, by the day, but sometimes a blinding light comes on in your head, and we get another step towards freedom of choice. What holds us back from freedom of choice? Not able to say no, or thinking that we know the answers, how it ought to be, when indeed the rest of the world is seeing it quite differently. Can do, can't do, wisdom in the moment. We're learning it all the time, and we find more doors shut down in early recovery because we're moving into a new environment and we don't know how to open those doors. That's how the 12 steps help. Letting go of the old life, starting a new one. Have a great day. I wonder if anybody else will wave at me. Highly unlikely.